Hey there, it's Jen, and I have a new layout process for you using the Ali Edwards Progress Story Kit. So I just have a little bin here with the kit in it. I have the physical kit, and what I'm doing on this layout is I'm going to use the digital stamp that says one step at a time. I just printed it on my cheap laser printer. It doesn't matter, you can print it on anything, on some cheap just white copy paper, and I'm going to use this as a stitching template because I want to stitch this one step at a time, and I'm trying to use up some different papers that I have that I've done mixed media on, so I'm going to use this. I like the way that this particular piece that I have had in my stash brings together the yellow from my daughter's shirt with the orange and kind of coral color in the kit, so I'm going to use those together. And the story of this layout is about how hard it has been for my daughter to understand math without being in the classroom. It's been tricky for her. She's had a hard time with it, but she's doing it. She has to take it one step at a time. So I'm going to use this as a stitching template. Like I said, I'm just going to place it over my paper, and I might cut this down a little bit so I can get a better idea of the placement, and then poke holes around it and stitch it. I'll show you some of that process, but not all of it, and then I will talk you through everything else. I also wanted to mention I do have this Bella Boulevard pop quiz paper that has math equations in the background that I thought I might use, and I'm trying to use up some pattern paper as well, so I might put it on this background or I might put it on just white cardstock. We'll see how I'm feeling, but that's where I'm starting, and I will talk you through how I put this together.
So I'm going to start by just trimming some of that white paper off so I can center this better on my paper. And I'm going to use some washi tape to tape it down. And basically all I'm doing is taking a little poker tool and poking holes about every 1/4 inch or so. I'm not doing it exact or anything. I won't make you watch me punch all the holes, but here you can see them all punched out. And I'm using some old Amy Tangerine supplies for poking my holes, but you could use any kind of foam piece beneath any kind of poker tool to poke your holes. And then I'm just using some white crochet twine to do a back stitch through all of those letters. It did take me a couple of hours to do, and I specifically chose to do this because I felt like stitching. And so if you are not a fan of stitching, maybe don't choose to do this kind of project unless it's a smaller amount. So in the video, you can't see it as well as you can in real life. The texture really pops at you when you're looking at it, but it does show up nicely, so just FYI. I'm going to use some of the elements of the kit to create my layout here, and right now I've got it so it's on that gray background, and I've got the math kind of print below it, but I'm not loving it. So I went through my pattern papers and found this one that kind of looks like a letterboard, and even though it's not a chalkboard, it kind of reminded me of it, and I just like the way that it ended up looking with this. Even though I don't often go for a dark background, I really did like it here. So it's a little bit blown out on the left hand side, sorry about that, but I'm just kind of tucking in pieces here and there from the story kit. So some of them are tags that came in the kit. I've got these little stickers. Some of them are cut up journaling cards, all sorts of stuff. I'm putting those little stickers on some wax paper so I can kind of move them around before I commit. And I have some chipboard pieces on there as well. And I'm just kind of trying to decide all of the elements that I want to include. I remembered I had some star paper clips, and I thought that would be fun. Kind of like, you give your kid a gold star for completing their homework or whatever. And so I'm being sure to include that. Because the math paper has kind of that aqua color, I wanted to include some more of that. So I pulled out some older Ali Edwards stickers, found one that said hello real life, and then I'm also going to use these little dies that I'm obsessed with. They're Tim Holtz little tiny like a typewriter alphabet. It comes with several of each letter, and I'm going to spell out the struggle is real. before I do that, just to make things a little bit easier on myself, I'm grabbing some double-sided adhesive from scrapbook.com, and I'm just going to put it behind my cardstock because it just makes them into a sticker and it's easier than having to glue each piece down. Although I honestly like fussy things like that. I don't mind gluing things down. I just thought it would be faster to do it this way today because I was kind of in a hurry. I think because I was tired. So I'm just spelling out the struggle is real. You can use these letters if you line them up nicely. You can use them to cut out and use the negative part instead of using the little letters too. But today I'm using the little letters. And I'm just using my little Altenew die cut machine there. I like having a small die cut machine on my desk because I use it so much more than I would if I had to pull out my big die cut machine for everything. And most of the dies that I use are small anyway. So I am using my notebook border edge punch at the top of that journaling card that says always learning because it looks like notebook paper and I thought it would be nice. And then I'm using my scissors to distress the edges of this mixed media piece of paper that I have. And I was too lazy to get out my trimmer, so I used my long Tim Holtz scissors to trim off the bottom of my page, there, the branding strip. And now I'm going to start gluing everything down. So I'm just making sure there's kind of an even amount of border on those bottom three sides, the two sides in the bottom. And then I'm going to cut my photo down just slightly, just because I wanted there to be a little bit more breathing room and more room to tuck embellishments. But I am going to mat it with a small white photo mat. And because of the stitching, I have to pop up this piece a little bit. And so I'm just using some thin foam squares just on the parts that aren't stitched, so it will hold the paper up to the same height that the stitching holds it up to, if that makes sense. And I will place that on the left-hand side after I peel off all of those little pieces. Those end up all over my scrapbook room, on my feet, all over the house because I track them around. So that's fun. I'm also I have a lot of different kinds of adhesives I like to use, but I just recently got this huge roll of adhesive from scrapbook.com that's foam, and it's not super like lofty. It's not super thick. But it's a little bit thicker than the thin foam squares that I like, and so it's the perfect in-between size. So I really like it. I'll link to all of the products in the video description if you're interested. And now I'm just layering up those pieces above my photo and to the right of my stitched piece. That helps just connect them together when you overlap things like that. And now for another pop of red, I'm going to put that little heart that I cut from a journaling card that says forward movement. And I'm going to add in a bit of orange because there's orange on that little part that says day by day and also in that kind of painted background. So now I'm going to get my title going. So I kind of have two titles. One of them is One Step at a Time, the thing that I stitched. But I also wanted this title as well because it's true, and honestly I just really wanted to use these little letter stickers, and I thought they fit perfectly on this letterboard. I could have done white to make it look more like a letterboard, but I wanted to do this teal color just to bring in again the color of the pattern paper. So I'm going to put all of those down, and I don't know why, but I just really, really love the process of cutting these tiny letters out and sticking them down. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I kind of like fussy things, so, but I'm obsessed with this. It's the perfect little alphabet. So now I'm going to think about where I want to put my little circles, and I'm going to pop all of them up. And I am going to kind of attach them to each one of the little clusters that I have going on. So there'll be a little pop of that blue in each cluster. I don't often pair navy with black. It's just not something that I feel like, it's either navy or black for me usually, but I liked it here, so I went with it. Now I'm trying to find another little pop of orange because I felt like I needed something else. And so I just did Trust the Journey above One Step at a Time. And I needed to put a little bit of foam adhesive behind this leather sticker. It's faux leather or whatever. I don't know exactly what it is. Vinyl maybe. And so I put a little foam adhesive behind it. And now I'm wanting to add something up at the top because it feels disconnected up there. By the struggle is real. It's not quite right to me. So I'm punching some hearts out of this journaling card. And I find that if I am not going to use a card immediately, and if I don't have an immediate want for that card, I have no problem cutting it up or using it for other things, and that was the case today. So if you are a scrapbooker and not a pocket page, like if you don't do pocket pages but you like traditional layouts, I think these kits work perfect for it as long as you keep that open mind about it. You can use them as rectangles, and I have done that before, kind of creating a grid layout or whatever, but I think it's fun to switch it up like I did here too. So now I'm putting on the gold stars, and again, I'm just putting one in each cluster kind of, and I think those turned out really cute. And now I need to get my journaling done. So I just printed my journaling. I love my Epson PM400 because it's a photo printer, but it also prints on regular cardstock, and so I printed my journaling on there, and I'm just cutting it up into little strips, and I will adhere it to the right of the photo between the title and the tag. So I'm just going to get those glued down, and that's pretty much what the rest of my layout turns out like. So I don't know why, but I left a lot of this me gluing these journaling pieces down in the video for whatever reason. But basically, I'm using a quickie glue pen to glue down each line of that journaling, and I find that if you don't hold it down for just a second after you put the glue on, it will pop off. But if you do hold it down, it's not coming up. So that's something that I had to learn because at first I didn't like this glue pen, but now I love it. So anyway, in my journaling, I just talked about how there's been tears on both mine and my daughter's side for doing this schooling from home, especially math. It's just been really difficult, but I'm proud of her for pushing through it and working hard at it. She thrives in the classroom, but has a little bit of a harder time doing it this way. And so it's just been difficult. And so I wanted to talk about that because I think it's important to tell these kinds of stories. The last thing I'm going to add, I wanted to add something that looked like masking tape. And so I have some white washi tape, and I also have some really light yellow washi tape, and I'm going to end up using the light yellow. And in real life, it looks more like masking tape than it does here, but that's the finishing touch for my layout. I'm going to go ahead, my video cut out at the very, very end, but I didn't worry about it because I was almost finished. And so here you can see some close-ups of how it turned out. I added some staples, and that's kind of the finishing touch that you didn't see in the video, but you can see here in the photos. So let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'll link to available products in the video description. Here are a couple other videos you might find enjoyable, and if you haven't checked out the story kits from Ali Edwards, I definitely encourage you to try them. They are something that helps me tell really important stories, and that matters to me. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.